Welcome to the Soccer Show with the Hall of Famer John Freeman Nelson from Atlanta OSG Sports and the coach, yes, headmaster coach of York University men and ladies. Now, I'm going to start with that. Carmen Asako. What headmaster coach? What does that mean? You're a better coach than the regular coach?
I keep telling you, the only headmaster I knew was Mrs. Whatever from Facts of Life. I don't know what the headmaster is. What was her name? John.
Mrs. Garrett, you mean?
Yeah, Mrs. Garrett.
Yes, I had a crush on Joe. Remember Joe? Not this Joe.
Yeah, Nancy McKeon. Yeah, no. See, I was more of a Blair guy. I was more of a Lisa Welchel guy.
No, and Tootie, was it Tootie?
Yeah, Tootie.
Kim Fields. Yeah, Kim Fields. Yeah.
Yes.
And Tootie was second.
Those were the times when we were actually watching TV instead of streaming TV, all right? Those facts of life. So tell me the facts of life. If we'll start off with Toronto FC. If you're Toronto FC and getting ties and getting, losses and all that, and the season, what are we? A quarter of the season through, all right? Yeah, about that, okay?
Well, I mean, Coach, let's see if we can get this right. You take the good.
You take the bad.
You take the bad. Then you take the ugly. You take them both, and there you have the facts of life.
That's it.
When the world never seems to be living up to your dream.
This is why he's the Hall of Famer.
That's amazing. You looked it up.
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir. That was not the way it was happening. But
the song when Alex broke up with his girlfriend in what was that show called?
Family Ties?
Huh?
Family Ties, yeah. Michael J. Fox.
When he broke up with his girlfriend? Let's name the song when he broke up with his
Forget about the soccer show. This is more interesting. Let's talk about the TV shows.
Billy Vera and the Beaters. I mean, that's who it was.
Oh.
Billy Vera. You can't mess up with that one. No, that's right.
Well, if you don't love me anymore,
yeah,
I will never.
And it had one of the most soulful saxophones in that era when it came to those kinds of things. What do you think? I mean, Billy Vera, that thing went right to the top of the charts, understandably so.
Yeah, I think that was my first tear shed. Either that or The Champ. The movie The Champ was probably my first tear shed.
You mean you cry? Carmen, you mean you cry for songs? These are things that nobody
No. He was talking about Ricky Schroeder and John Boyd. I mean, that's
yeah.
That's the facts of life. Anyways, let's get back to soccer. Giancarlo will be coming.
That's the thing. It's like, with Toronto FC, you take the good. So what's the good? Not much.
What is the good?
The good is, for me, the good is a consistent midfield. The good is Insigne back. The good is Bernadeschi for sure. Not only regardless of how efficient or productive we think he is or isn't, but his mentality and his attitude. The good is, although a small sample size, CJ Sapong, although very small, but I thought he was very good. He was their number 9 that they needed. And then there's the bad, which they haven't really addressed the center back situation. And that's it. You know what? I still think they're going to be a team to be reckoned with in the playoffs. So this is going to be a big test for them on Saturday against New England.
So basically what you're saying is there's a time you got to go and show you're growing. And so now you know about the facts of life. And so you're saying that that's what this New England game can be, is a time that you've got to go and show you're growing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's also growing pains.
If Joe gets a good run in the midfield, I think she'll turn heads for sure. And Tootsie up top, Tootie up top, Tootie up top can score goals for sure.
Hey, come on, Carm, don't you forgot about Chachi.
Chachi's not in the facts of life.
I know he's not in but it's growing pains. You got growing pains.
Yeah, but that's different network. It's a different network.
Tony loves Chachi.
All right, let's Joni. Joni loves Chachi, not Joe. Joni loves Chachi.
Joni loves Chachi.
That's right.
But I mean, think about it. With this game with New England, there's a time you got to go and show you're growing.
Yeah. And look who's going and coming, and look at that. That's Giancarlo Lido.
You got to show them who the boss is.
Yeah, that's true.
So, Giancarlo, show them who the boss. Take over the show. We're talking about TFC.
With Toronto FC, you do have family ties. You do.
We're making a mess here. We better stop while we're waiting.
No mess. This is great reminiscing. John and Carmen. By the way, Giancarlo, look.
Tony Danza was a second baseman for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Cardinals, yes.
Yeah.
Well, but the thing is, when you do have family ties, you have to figure out who's the boss, and then you also have to figure out right now how you're going to get to the head of the class, and figure out what that's going to look like. I mean, am I not wrong?
He's acting like Malcolm in the Middle there, John.
Yeah, well,
all I hear is that family matters.
Isn't it more like Richie Larea right now? Is Malcolm in the Middle? I mean,
like who let Urkel in? Who
let the dogs out? All right, enough with this. This is a soccer show. Come on. Take it over here.
Most of the time, actually, with that back line that Toronto FC has, they probably are looking at each other going, did I do that?
That's not a full.
Talking about Willis.
It's not a full host back there.
It is different strokes for different folks, right?
I'm going to watch different strokes. Giancarlo, take it away.
So TFC there, I guess.
Yeah. What about
it? Epic episode. We're like Charlie's Angels here right now. I'm Kelly.
Let's see. I guess that would make me probably what? Jill Monroe leaving after one season.
Cheryl Teagues. What's
little sister? The little Monroe sister. The Ferret Fawcett's little sister. Yes, absolutely. Giancarlo's going to have to go through Google and figure out what we're talking about with 99% of all this stuff. But yeah, no, we were talking about Toronto FC and how it really is the facts of life right now.
And sometimes Giancarlo reminds me of Chrissy Snow.
Wow, yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, so I guess does that make so who would be the Ropers in this?
Oh, Stanley. All right, can we move on now?
All right, Giancarlo, what's on your mind?
If we keep this, Johnny, Elizabeth, I'm coming.
Exactly.
Giancarlo, I see the plane. Come on, start off the thing. I see the plane, man.
So what you're saying is that right now Toronto FC is living on Fantasy Island if they're going to try and get a result with New England this weekend. Is that it?
Looks like it.
Listen, I'm going to go on my card, the Dukes of Hazzard. I got to see Daisy Duke now. All right. So Giancarlo, seriously, take over the show.
So Carmen, what do you think of this matchup this weekend?
Oh, man, they got to have their A team. They really do.
Oh, we're acting a lot like Hannibal right now.
I love it when a plan comes together. That's at the end of the show when Joe gets
playing at number 9. If he makes a difference like he did last game, like I said, sample size is small, but he was a proper number 9. Scored a goal. Did everything I thought he needed to do. It could be, 30-something years old, 33, 34 now. Probably what that team needs, surrounded by 2 veteran players, Bernadeschi and Insigne. I think there's like I said, I think it's early doors. I think that the season's got a lot of run left, and I can't see a team this good not making the playoffs. Can't see a team this good, and I like their midfield. You know what? I hate to say it, but they're starting to keep clean sheets as well without Bradley, without Michael. So maybe that's something we'll see in the future. The little Spanish kid, I think he's a fantastic player. I think that as soon as he gets his rhythm and his timing in the MLS at that speed, I think he's gonna be a very good influence on that group in general. So I see this team, and it's going to be an amazing test against New England. That's not going to be flashy. That's going to be efficient. That's going to be in their low block. That's going to press as a group when they can. But they're going to make things difficult. They're going to make things difficult for that back four. Or again, they haven't really addressed the 2 center backs just yet. But let's. It's going to be a good test for them. Good test, making sure that they defend in transition, and they make sure that they make the most of their chances. But if they're on the ball, which Insigne and Bernadeschi can be, with CJ Sapong being a presence, I could easily see them scoring 3 goals against New England or losing 1-0 against New England.
Well, and also New England's without Dylan Barrero, who was carted off in their last match. A word came out this morning that he's done for the year. So the young star that New England brought in, they won't have him as any kind of an option. So, it does make you wonder what you're going to be staring at when it comes to this matchup. And I mean, it obviously, knowing how tough it is to win on the road in Major League Soccer, it's even tougher this year. I mean, last year it was basically 2 out of every 7. So basically it was like a 29% clip. So far this year, it is even more difficult to win on the road. So we'll see what happens here. Obviously staring at juice boxes, it's a rather large number that's on the board, but I've still got to go with New England just on the basic premise of it being difficult to win on the road, even though the Barrero injury does, it does hamstring New England a bit in trying to figure out what they want to do with their approach.
And do you think that this new look Toronto side in the midfield, are you in agreement there with Carmen about Michael Bradley, or do you think it's just a small sample size and too early to tell?
No, I think that, Coach knows this. There are two entities that are undefeated: Father Time and Mother Nature. And we've seen, I think, in fits and starts, the next stage of Michael Bradley's career when he's injured and he's there on the touchline with his dad and he's doing the same kind of things, and you're seeing basically shadow images of each other. I think that time for Michael Bradley is running thin. And how do you the first step for Michael Bradley when it came to how does he make his game different was dropping deeper and helping out defensively and doing things like that. That was the first stage of help. We saw it with Wayne Rooney, who became more of a playmaker as his career was going further and further along. So that first step for Bradley, but then once again, you have younger guys that could come in and do the same thing and help your team win. So it comes down to a very, very tough decision about one of your stars. And so, it's going to be a tough one. How does Michael Bradley adjust to this adjustment? I think that's the key here right now. Yeah, you've drawn 6 of your first 10. Right now, you're in that last playoff spot. You're in the play-in spot. But behind you is Philadelphia. And then, I guess everybody would be looking at Philly as the team that would supplant whomever. Probably a DC would be your first impulse when it comes to making the playoffs. I think that having those 2 extra playoff spots makes it easier, if you want to use that word, for teams to get into the playoffs. And I think that having the Eastern Conference stacked the way that it is, right now, if you sit there, coach says, okay, Toronto makes it in. If you were to sit there and say, okay, Philadelphia makes it in too, who do you take out? I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, you're going to name 10 teams to get into the playoffs. But right now, Red Bulls are in a world of hurt. I think Gerhard Struber is not going to be long for coaching in Major League Soccer. Same could be said maybe for Christian Latanzio if things don't turn around in Charlotte. Montreal, same could be said for Hernan Losada, because Joey Saputo, we know his patience level. It's like dealing with George Steinbrenner when it comes to Yankees managers. Miami, probably, if things don't improve, because they're offensively challenged, you could see the end of Phil Neville. Chicago, Ezra Hendrickson, they have bought into Ezra's vision of it being a build. So they've sat tight with that. And, right now, Gaga Slanina has been part and parcel to that growth. And then you have all the younger players that are there for Chicago. Then that just leaves Philly. So Philly gets in the East. Who do you bump out? I think a lot of folks would sit there and say DC as opposed to any of the other teams. So I think that kind of by default, Toronto makes the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, Carmen, what do you think of their talent pool right now in terms of the other teams that are probably going to be battling for playoff spots in the East?
It's a good analogy. Talent for talent, I think TFC is better than most teams in the East. The question there, if you look for from their top six. We'll talk about their top six. You've got two of the best wide players in the league, if not the best, in Insigne and Bernadeschi. You've got, Mark Anthony Kaye and Jonathan Osorio, who for me is are two, any year, any month can be the top players and the top midfielders in the league. And you've got the young Alonso kid, the Spanish kid, and Bradley still having a say in this year for sure. Michael Bradley still having a say in this year. And for me, you've got the two best attacking backs, two very good attacking backs in Laria and Peralta. For me, are Peretta are very strong in the attack, very very good. The biggest weakness, and they have Sean Johnson, who's one of the best keepers in the league as well. So for me, it's still the center back situation. The center back situation because the center back situation in Bradley's system is so key because he wants to get the team higher. He wants this team that's dropping in a lower block isn't what he wants. He wants the team higher. But when he did it with LAFC, he had Zimmerman and big time center backs that can deal with the 2v2s and the 1v2s or the 2v3s even. But he doesn't have that with TFC right now. So that is obviously a big hole. And even when Hedges is back, his mobility isn't what it used to be for sure. So for me, that's the transition. That there's a team that wants to play a certain way, but they don't necessarily have the most important component to be able to do that. And you also have, Bernadeschi, who's shown that he can press and he could be committed to defending. And on the other side, it's Insigne, who, not so committed to defending. And on that left side, we don't have the best defending left back in the league. And we have Laria, who fancies himself going forward and getting assists and goals, which he has done probably more efficiently than any right back in the league. But there's two sides of it, and that's the biggest question mark I see. Talent-wise, we're up there with the top teams in the league, probably better than the top teams in the league, and I think that's reflective in our payroll. But I think that system and the most important position to play the Bob Bradley system for me is those center backs. He just doesn't have them right now.
And John, I guess like you mentioned Laria there. If you're on the outside looking in, he's on loan from Nottingham Forest. If you're Nottingham Forest, do you recall him because of what he did at the World Cup and then translated it to MLS, or do you just cut your losses and let him stay in Toronto?
No, it's not a cutting losses kind of a thing. I think that when you're looking at what Steve Cooper wants to do when it comes to Nottingham Forest, right now you've got a month left in the season. And I know that the running gag has been, are there going to be more transfers at Nottingham Forest than points that they will have accrued in the Premier League this year? I mean, they're in a relegation fight right now, and if Richie Laryea wants to get minutes, and wants to be more integral to a team and its growth, then by default, it would have to be Toronto FC. This is not saying anything negatively against Nottingham Forest, but right now you're looking at what they're trying to do and staying afloat, and Steve Cooper has his set lineup. If Richie Laryea is not a part of that, then what you do, you go ahead, you loan him back, everything's cool, Laryea gets minutes. And then once Nottingham Forest's future is decided at the end of this month, then Laryea should continue playing in Toronto. And then if he's a part of Nottingham Forest's future, whether it's in the Premier League or in the Championship, sort that out in the summer and as you get closer to the beginning of the European football season. Don't worry about Richie Laryea right now. It's not cutting your losses. It's giving Laryea minutes. So, if I'm looking at it from Steve Cooper's perspective, I got my guys. I got bigger things to worry about right now than, trying to figure out if I recall Richie Laryea. Laryea is getting quality minutes with Toronto FC right now. He's an integral part of what they're trying to do to stay north of the playoff bar now that we're at the quarter pole here in the season. Let Laryea stay with Toronto and do his thing. Worry about next season later because there's only so much time left in the Premier League season as it is.
And Carmen, do you think he should stay at TFC, or should Nottingham Forest in that relegation fight like try everything possible, maybe change up their lineup and maybe take a chance on recalling Larea?
Well, I don't know. I think his loan's not up till June, regardless. And Steve Cooper has made it clear he doesn't want Larea. It's clear. And he just recently signed, I believe, a 3-4 year contract with the club. So it's just a matter of working out the details to keep him at Toronto FC. So I don't think there'll be any movement. I think that they'll try to make it a permanent deal, or I think it is an idea of cutting their losses because Steve Cooper doesn't want Larea anymore, and they'll see what they can get out of him from TFC, or they'll probably just release him outright, or just take a minimal fee for him. But I think that story, that narrative is done with Larea. I think that he's established as an MLS player, and his future is nowhere close to Nottingham Forest, not even close.
Well, on that note, we'll transition to Atlanta, where they'll have a nice game this weekend. John, what are you expecting out of them so far this season? Have they exceeded your expectations?
I think that there are some points that were left on the table, and I think that if you ask Garth Lagerwey, you ask Gonzalo Pineda, you ask any of the players, that they left some points on the table. I mean, right now they're third in the East, a win basically behind FC Cincinnati in New England. So, and you're doing that without having Thiago Almada in every match because of getting a knock. Yorgos Giacomakis dealing with hamstring injuries, and so right now you're kind of trying to figure out how to fill those spots in game state. And like I said, right now you're third in the East, and I think that when we talked to Garth Lagerwey before the season started, his goal was to have a home playoff match. I think that you're looking for more out of folks like Mateus Osetiu and Luis Arujo. I think that you're probably looking for more from Derek Etienne. But when you have Caleb Wiley, a U.S. M&T U20, who has stepped up and has basically taken minutes away from Derek Etienne, you don't want to sit a hot hand. And so you're doing that right now with Wiley on the left wing, and Etienne comes in and he'll help you shut the door for giving you 30 minutes at the end of matches. Obviously, between the sticks, it's another thing that you've got to look at because the injury to Brad Gazan, that was a reason that you picked up Quentin Westberg and Clement Diop. And it looks like Westberg might be back between the sticks this weekend. If not, we've seen from Diop that he is more than capable between the sticks in Major League Soccer because he's driven teams crazy in the past. Both Westberg and Diop have driven Atlanta United crazy in the past. So if you can't beat him, join him in one of those situations. So the depth is there. It's just trying to figure out in these situations, okay, you don't have Giacomakis. We want to double team Almada and we want to make life difficult for him and how to work your way around that. And so this weekend, you're going down to Inter Miami, who is offensively challenged, to say the very least, although they did put 2 goals on the back of the net in Open Cup against a USL Championship side. Happy for you. So it'll be interesting. Obviously, the subplot is there with Joseph Martinez, but is Joseph even going to start? Because what you've seen from Phil Neville is Joseph went 7 matches in a row without scoring. So he's not afraid to sit folks down. He sat down Gonzalo Higuain last year. And he's sitting Joseph Martinez this year. So, Phil Neville's not afraid to sit somebody down. Doesn't matter what the bank account says every 2 weeks. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with this match. It should be a get-right game for Atlanta United, but because you have injuries to Gregory and Jean Mota in the midfield. And so what is Neville going to do to try to combat that? That's what you're staring at with this one, but it should be a get-right game for Atlanta.
And it's about a perfect time here to transition to another big story. I don't know if you heard about Leo Messi's, trip planning and recent trips there, but it looks like he could be on his way to Saudi Arabia to join Ronaldo. So will he be getting the same amount of hate there like Ronaldo did when he accepted the big bag?
Go ahead, Coach. What do you think?
No. I think Sepp Blatter put it best when he talked about, he compared Ronaldo and Messi. Messi's still the princess and the prince, and Ronaldo's still the evil king for me. That narrative is well established. And I think if he goes to Saudi Arabia, that'll be different level of commitment to the game. It's different level of entertainment. No, he's loved everywhere he goes, and his just his aura and his presence in any country would be just incredibly significant to the growth of the sport. But he represents the good angel for sure. That's why most of us hope that he goes back to Barcelona, or hopes that he finishes his career somewhere where it's not the finish, of the Cristiano Ronaldo in Saudi Arabia for $75 billion story. That we all need a feel good story, and Lionel Messi is a feel good story as is. But for me, it wouldn't be the greatest narrative for him to finish off in Saudi Arabia. But who knows?
$400 million a year, and yeah, he ain't turning that down. I mean, he's already an ambassador for the Saudi Tourism Authority, and this was at the crux of all of this. And he issued a statement earlier this morning saying that, traditionally we get that day off. And so I thought we were operating under that idea on Monday. And so that's why I left, because I'd already had to cancel this once before. Look, the contract with PSG is not going to get renewed. That's not going to happen, especially when somebody is waving 400, somebody's waving 400 extra large at you a year to be basically a player and then an ambassador. He's going. And they just have to figure out what team it's going to be. Is it going to be with the mortal enemy of CR38? So you have, that rivalry going again. He ain't going back to Barcelona. Barcelona's got to figure out how to keep the lights on. They got to figure out how to pay those bills first and foremost. They can't pay Lionel Messi nothing. And then I know a lot of folks were thinking maybe Major League Soccer, but Major League Soccer, even if they redid the Beckham rule, they can't afford $400 million. He's going to be an ambassador. Saudi Arabia wants he and Cristiano Ronaldo to be a part of the process for their Vision 2030 project, where they're going to try to have the World Cup in Saudi Arabia in 2030 with these two guys as your lead ambassadors. I mean, it's $400 million. They've already taken pictures of him with white falcons and his wife wearing ceremonial headdresses and things like headgear and things like that. He's going. He is absolutely going for $400 million a year.
Yeah, I'll play devil's advocate since we're talking about the good faith of Messi and the devil, and as people are calling Ronaldo. Where's everybody's moral compass now that Ronaldo took that big deal and he's all of a sudden a bad person, a sellout?
Oh, no.
What's that same energy for Leo Messi?
Whoa. As Coach said, CR38 has always had that black hat versus Lionel Messi anyway. You were either in one camp. You were either Team Messi or Team Ronaldo. When Ronaldo went, he was washed in the Premier League. I mean, dude was done. D-U-N done. He could not keep up. And when he wanted to have everything funneled to him, you saw what it did to Manchester United. They stank. So he goes to a place where he can be a focal point, get a boatload of money. I think it's 165 million pounds a year. Good for you. Messi, Messi could still play. And well, like we talked about with Michael Bradley, game was a little different. He's more of an assist guy than a goals guy. But it's different with these two. But I don't think that you're going to get the same blowback, as Coach says, with Messi going to Saudi Arabia as you do with Cristiano Ronaldo, because of the perceptions of the past. And it's just that's just how it is with these two guys, Coach. I mean, Messi, I know a lot of folks are going to sit there and say that the last thing that he did, the last thing that he'll be remembered for is winning the World Cup for Argentina. All the stuff in Saudi Arabia, people are just going to kind of sit there and go, yeah, okay, he's in Saudi Arabia. I think that recency bias might just be locked into that, and they'll kind of keep, oh, look how cute. He's in Saudi Arabia doing his thing. No, I think it's going to be different.
Okay, and again, devil's advocate, how did PSG do in Champions League?
Oh, the same that they've always done. It didn't matter. It didn't matter who was there with PSG.
Messi, Neymar, Mbappe. Messi wasn't like leading them through it, and he wasn't the focal point. Isn't that what he'll be remembered for in PSG by their fan base?
No, I mean Neymar and PSG will be Neymar will be remembered probably angrier than anything else because of, I mean, Neymar and Mbappe, and I think Verratti was the other one. What they had protesters outside of Verratti's house, they had protesters outside of Messi's place, and they had protesters outside of Neymar's place. All of the old guard will be remembered more for the failure than Messi. Oh yeah, Messi was a part of that, right? Because he joined in later. They still were failing in Champions League. They weren't winning things, but Neymar was there for a lot longer. Verratti was there for a lot longer. You're having, once again, oh, it was just a cup of coffee with Messi. No, he won't be front and center blamed for it. There'll be more for Neymar and everybody else who've been there for a while.
Carmen, do you think that that's how PSG fans will remember him? Didn't deliver the goods for them, and went and kind of like what Ronaldo did, went to Manchester United again. It was a nice little return, didn't deliver. Isn't that the same thing PSG fans will look at?
No. I think he's still a focal point in winning the league, which they're close to. I think he's still a focal point in that. I think that he's shown on the field that not only is he committed, he worked hard, he had productivity this year. So I don't think that they have any basis to be critical of his performances. Neymar, if you look at Neymar and all the games he's missed for whatever reasons, it's again about the perception versus reality thing. But what you perceive Messi to be is what he is. But what you perceive Neymar to be is what he is too. He cuts corners sometimes. Is he flashy? Absolutely. Is he an incredible skill? Absolutely. But you're going to get that maybe 60% of the time, where from Messi you're going to get it 90% of the time. So that's for me the difference. And I think that everything that he's done for the club and what he's done as far as raising the credibility of the French league in general, I think that he's par for the course. I don't think he went there and let anyone down by any means.
Yeah, and like just on that front three there, like Messi, all pretty much all but done there. It's safe to assume. Mbappe, Neymar. Could Neymar be on his way to MLS and Mbappe out to Real Madrid?
Stop. You can't afford Neymar in the first place under the current salary structures. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if somebody like Chelsea or Spurs was chasing after Neymar, considering that Todd Bowley wants to throw money at pretty much everything, to thinking that money will fix the problem immediately. And then he goes to the Milken Institute and says, we're still kind of learning. We're learning things here. Boy, no, I think that there's probably some outrageous contract out there somewhere for both Mbappe and Neymar in the Premier League, and it will be interesting to figure out who steps up first. I think it's Chelsea. I just don't know. I mean, who it is that they would be chasing after, but they're going to want that big splash because they've been wanting 37 players that they signed to make big splashes, and they haven't been able to do that yet. But I think that Chelsea's probably your contender when it comes to a big name. And then once again, you look at Manchester United and the ownership situation there. Does a new owner make a splash there and try to bring in somebody that Eric Ten Hag would want? So I'm looking at the new ownership in Chelsea with Bowley Clear Lake, and I'm looking at Manchester United. If it's Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos, or if it's Sheikh Jassim and the 932. So those are my two contenders, but I think that PSG might just get to a point where they're like, we're good.
Yeah, Carmen, do you think that that's a possibility, the EPL? Because I'm surprised John didn't mention Newcastle with the season they had.
I'm seeing Neymar to Prem. I don't know if he's going to last. I don't know if his his mentality is fit to continue even playing. He's just so, and in the Prem, the tackling and the pace of play and the expectations so much more.
Yep.
I think Mbappe is the next Galacticos for sure. If Real Madrid doesn't throw everything at him, they could be in trouble because they're going to probably lose Benzema. They're going to probably lose Modric. They're probably going to lose Toni Kroos. There's a lot of Galacticos leaving that group, and I think that if they need to throw Mbappe everything and anything, and he does have his Tukumani and Kamavinga, his compatriots there as well that are incredibly big time players, and an exciting player on Vinicius. And I just think that it's time for Real Madrid to kind of, and even if Benzema does stay, it's time for Real Madrid to kind of start again, and I think Mbappe would be that logical choice as far as I'm concerned for Real Madrid. And I mean, as a player, who doesn't want to play for Real Madrid? It's one of the most storied teams in the world ever, and everything that comes with it. You want to play for Real Madrid. So
and your check wouldn't bounce every 2 weeks.
There you so there you go. I think Mbappe to Real Madrid. I think Neymar has become irrelevant, and I don't know. I hate to say this, and I don't mean to be offensive, but irrelevant and coming to the MLS might be. So, I'm just saying.
Financially, they couldn't afford it. I mean, it's the same thing that we're talking about with Messi. The article, if you want to take a peek at it, it's not The Athletic, where Sporting Kansas City made a run at Cristiano Ronaldo before he went to Saudi Arabia. So, I mean, but it would have to be something that would be incredibly imaginative, and you'd have to rewrite rules and things like that. And maybe you knock out the salary cap and add DPs, which is something that MLS needs to do anyway. But I don't think that you could afford it. And who wants somebody in their early 30s who's got bad ankles? And, you mentioned, Coach, how the tackling in the Prem, that there's going to be somebody in whatever league Neymar goes to that's going to sit there and go, yeah, I'm going to take him out. So you're going to have you got a guy who's got 2 bad wheels already. And if he was to go to whatever league, somebody's going to want to sit there and have Neymar as a marker for a hard tackle. So I think it's going to be whatever stage, whatever that next step is. The French league made a lot of sense at the time because it is PSG, it might be Marseille, and it might be a couple of other folks when you're chasing after a title. And the league just simply is not as physical as other leagues. So it fit Neymar coming over. It fit Messi coming over because of the lack of wear and tear and possibly chasing after championships and things like that. So, just whoever gets Neymar, it's going to be, are you going to be ready to pay a lot, and your return on investment might not be a lot?
Yeah. And just something where a return on investment is a lot. Manchester City's cyborg Erling Haaland set a record there for goals, and they're still only 1 point ahead there of Arsenal. They have a game in hand, but it's a really tight race, I think, for Man City's liking. Carmen, I'll start with you. Can Arsenal spoil the party on this incredible season, or do you think Man City will keep that spot?
I think Man City could spoil their own party. They got a lot of competitions, a lot of games coming up, and it's not like he's rotating 7-8 players. Maybe he's rotating 3 or 4. Grealish is playing a lot of minutes. Mahrez playing a lot of minutes. Gundogan playing a lot of minutes. There's Foden could get back into the mix, although there's probably a side story there that we don't know. So I mean, it's theirs to lose, but he has to be conscientious of De Bruyne's and all that, all those minutes. I mean, Haaland, you could play every day for 90 minutes as far as I'm concerned, because the guy's just an incredible specimen, a beast. It's Manchester City's to lose. You look at their they have Leeds at home with the new Sam Allardyce, which I don't know what they were thinking there, but it'll be fun. So that'll be interesting. Then they have Chelsea in between there, who's just been a debacle. It's every time you think that they're gonna show some character or maybe have some ability, they got killed. They got beat up by Arsenal.
Yeah.
And, so I don't know if that's a mark on their calendar that they're so worried about. But again, it's all the other competitions that they have coming up. FA Cup final, and obviously that big matchup against Real Madrid that we haven't talked about yet. But I mean, and if there's any team that can beat Manchester City, it is definitely Real Madrid. The only Manchester City can beat themselves. It's no question that they're the best coached, the most talented team with the ball, and they have the ball a lot. But I think it's only them that can beat themselves. And I'm not so convinced. And the move that Pep made in putting Ortega in, the goalkeeper, I'm not so sure that was by design, or I think that they're questioning the goalkeeper situation there, because Ortega's, I think he's world class. So there's lots of ifs, ands, and buts. But I think the only team that could beat Manchester City, actually, the only team that can beat Manchester City is Real Madrid. But the only team that could take away these championships or in the competition, especially the domestic league, is Man City beating themselves, finding a way to beat themselves. And we saw glimpses of it, although they came out fantastic in the second half against an undermanned West Ham. But yeah, for me, it's Manchester City's to lose, and Manchester City's the only team that can beat themselves for me, other than Real Madrid in the Champions League.
John, do you think? I don't know. Arsenal's final two there. I have a feeling Manchester City, there's a sneaky draw. I don't know why, because of who they have coming up, but like Arsenal at the game in hand, do you think it's favorable for them?
No. Next question.
So you think Manchester City wins it?
The head-to-head loss showed, with 2 matches in hand, who's in charge. And to Coach's point, the only team that can beat Manchester City in England is Manchester City. And so I'm looking forward to Champions League and seeing how it goes up against Real Madrid. But the only team in England that can beat Manchester City is Manchester City.
And do you think that Arsenal, I know they're having a nice little surprising year because of Liverpool's decline, it seems, and Manchester United fell off, but Newcastle coming up there. Is this a win for Newcastle now, going into the transfer market with all that money they're going to have to spend?
Well, but remember, they're doing it. They're not as nuts as other folks when it comes to spending money. Yes, they're going to spend money, but Eddie Howe has been told that they're supposed to be fairly pragmatic about it. They're only going to have, I think, $80 million to invest in the summer window. It's not where they can sit there and chase after, 9 gazillion people and they'll be at the front of the line for Jude Bellingham. No. They have places that they need to address. And so then what do you do in that regard? And they also have done some things right now that are very financially sound coming into the ownership change. And so I think it'll be a gradual thing for the PIF, but they made this big splash early on. They got the second window here coming up in the summer as they continue to build and build and build. It's not going to be something where you're going to bring in, some dude up top and destroy the balance that you've created with all the personnel that you brought in. Arsenal has done very, very well under Mikel Arteta. And who was Mikel Arteta the number 2 for? Pep Guardiola. So you get the Pep coaching tree and you're seeing what's going on with Arsenal. I think that they've done really well. I think that they need to invest in the offseason in a couple of positions to help fight these battles that you would have against Manchester City. Arsenal doing incredibly well, especially defensively, and you're seeing what Gabriel Jesus means to that lineup. But I think that, a couple of pieces for Arsenal, a couple of more pieces for Newcastle, but I still think that right now, and Manchester United, you've still got the ownership change that Eric Ten Hag is trying to figure out. It's like, okay, what can I invest? Who can I invest? I don't know yet because I don't know who my new owner is going to be, and I don't know what my situation is. That, I think, could hurt Manchester United more than anything else, not being able to invest in the summer window if the ownership situation isn't resolved and done so quickly.
Yeah, definitely. And something there that will be resolved is who's going to go to the Champions League final. We got Real Madrid and Man City on one side, and then we have the two Italian teams in Inter, AC Milan, the Milan derby on the other. Carmen, who do you think is going in from that Real Madrid Man City side of the bracket, and do you think Inter has what it takes to take out AC Milan?
I do think Inter has what it takes to take out AC Milan, but I mean, AC Milan in transition, they showed what they did against Napoli, who we haven't talked about yet, who won the Serie A for the first time in Larry Bird years. I do think that their transition in Leao, who's for me one of the top 10 players in the world, going forward, I think their discipline in their middle third defending. I think they're going to be a very, very tough opponent. But again, the Lukaku factor and the Martinez factor and the consistency of Barella and who is it in the midfield? Is it Brozovic? They've been so consistently inconsistent. So you don't never know what team is going to show up. But and I don't know if it's going to be. It should be a pragmatic approach by Inzaghi to maybe even give up the ball a little bit to Milan, because their center backs aren't proven at that next level as I think. So I think if you isolate Martinez and Lukaku, I think that they could be dangerous with space behind them. So and Inzaghi was famous and infamous for his low block again with Lazio. But we'll see. I think the management and the moments in the game are going to have a lot to do who wins this. The manager, the decisions they make is going to have a lot to do to who wins this tie. It'll be it'll be a joy to watch for a coach for sure. So like it was, as far as I was concerned, the Napoli Milan quarterfinal was a joy to watch as a coach. But I think that also Real Madrid and Man City, the difference between Man City is their ability to they've seen out games 1-0. They've seen out games 1-0 at 1-0. Sorry, Joe. And I think that this is going to come to that. I think it's going to be their ability to see off games 1-0 and their ability to kind of be compact in their defending. Because I think if you open up or you let Real Madrid, and it's falling into their hands, be that counter team, Vinicius in transition, Benzema in transition, with Modric distributing, and Toni Kroos will come in, I'm sure, and Camavinga. This is a dangerous team in the Ancelotti system. This is Real Madrid is built to beat teams like Manchester City, and so for me, it's like beating teams like Bayern Munich, who are possession oriented and very dynamic in their movements. I think Ancelotti's team, it hurts me to say, because I want Manchester City to win it because they are the best team in the world. But I think Real Madrid is well prepared to beat a team like this.
Yeah.
I've got to go with Manchester City. I mean, I've said that they're the best team in Europe all year long, and I can't change. I mean, I can't sit there and say, yeah, it's different now. No. You make a prediction, you got to stick with it. So I'm going to stick with Manchester City. It's going to be a hell of a semi, and I ain't touching the one on the right. I ain't touching it. Inter and AC Milan, no, sir. I'm going to watch both. I'm going to enjoy it for different reasons. I do think that Manchester City has that one moment with Erling Haaland that makes a difference. I know that we can sit there and say the same about Karim Benzema as well. But no, I've got to go with I've got to stick with Manchester City. I have the entire season. And knowing all of those middle-aged English pundits who were concerned, I don't know if Haaland can make it in the Premier League. Really? Okay, fine. Yeah, you.
That's a Scottish accent, by the way.
Yeah,
that's really Scottish.
Yeah, I know. But I was trying to like Roy Keane, something like that.
He's Northern Irish.
Yeah, whatever. Fine, whatever. Pick your middle-aged pundit.
He's a nice sitcoms. Because your accent's not. This whole bit is struggling. So move on, go on.
No, I just think that all the pundits at the beginning of the year that said, I don't know if Holland can handle the Premier League. Yeah, you get shown.
Laughable.
Absolutely.
And do you think Zlatan has one more?
Oh God! Stop! Stop it! No, the guy that was Zava on Ted Lasso's got a better shot than we freaking Zlatan.
Yeah, well, Grealish, Jamie Tartt's doing okay.
The more he looks like Jamie Tartt, the better Phil Dunst. I mean, that character development has been fantastic. But yeah. No. Any Zlatan, any more Zlatan discussion, and I'm literally hanging up. I mean, I do have to hang up, but literally any more Zlatan discussion, and I'm out the door.
What about Zava? What about Zava discussion?
Ted Lasso season 3 has been amazing. Sad that there's only 4 more episodes left.
All right. Well, on that note, enough with the shenanigans here. All right, John, tell everybody how they could get a hold of you and what do you have planned this weekend. And here, yes. See, perfect timing.
Yep. There's book number 6, Noble Strong Lessons in Destiny. Just had its 2-year anniversary out on the market. Great story about small town football and family and what it means on a bunch of different levels. Easiest way to grab it, get in touch with me is right there on the Twitters. At OSG Nelson. Don't forget to download the Soccer Down Here app and the OSG Sports apps available on iOS and Android.
And stay here, John. Giancarlo, go say the same thing. How do you get a hold of you, social media?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter, John_411, Instagram, Giancarlo_Alino. Check out my articles on firedupnetwork.ca and Sportskita for a few UFC ones I'll be doing this weekend. And check me out if you're in Toronto on Vibe.
Hold on. He's doing stuff for Sportskita, but what are you doing for Fired Up Network? Carmen, can you tell him something? Can you tell him to do something for Fired Up Network here or what?
51 minutes and 55 seconds of the soccer show, which can be heard and seen here on Mometu.
You showed up 10 minutes late. But here, I'll go to John back. John, yesterday, May the 4th be with you.
Start to Man City. He's big time now. You can't, he's like the Zava of this group. He's the Zava of this group. Right, Zava.
Yeah, don't give me the four horsemen, all right? Look, John, yesterday, May the 4th be with you. Today, Cinco de Mayo. What are you doing for Cinco de Mayo? Come on. You're partying, you're dancing, bailando. Come on.
Nope. Yesterday, the little rowdy man had a massive amount of surgery, so we're keeping an eye on him. So it's going to be very, very low key, except for the maids that are coming to clean the house in about 4 minutes. So I've got to move a car.
All right, and Giancarlo, what are you doing? Nothing.
Hopefully, seeing a Leaf win.
Yeah,
that's what I'll be doing.
All right, Carm. Yesterday, May the 4th be with you. Today, Cinco de Mayo. What are you doing? You know why I asked that, right? Because listen, Carm. Listen. All right, that's the facts of life, and a special. I know some of my good friends, a very good friend, is going for a holiday tomorrow to Jamaica. So have a safe, happy trip. And Carmen, I'll go to you here. I'll even put you the center of attraction here. All right, come on, take us out, singing something Cinco de Mayo. Come on, and Market Lane, they're watching you on the big screen like they do at Maple Leaf Square. Come on, say something for the millions and millions of fans.
And millions.
Speedy, I'm hungry.
Oh, he's gone Slowpoke Rodriguez on us. Okay.
Slowpoke Rodriguez.
So this has been a fantastic edition of the Soccer Show here on the FiredUp Network. Stay tuned for more great programs.